we want to make sure that we're setting them up for success by building the systems in place. So my recommendation would be just hire someone full-time. We solve a problem, and then solving that problem creates a new problem. And then we solve that problem, and solving that problem creates a new problem. And it is just a circular cycle. There's no stable of people. And all of those people that I just talked about, every single one of them was grown in-house. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Cheer Biz Podcast. I'm your host, Dan Cotton, owner of Oregon Dream Teams in Beaverton, Oregon, also the owner and founder of Dream Camps, a camp company that does camps all over the United States, working with cheer gyms and athletes across the country, and one of the co-owners of Next Generation Gym Owners, focused on consulting and growing cheer gyms just like yours. Now, today we are going to be talking about why hiring a gym director might not be the right step for you to take in your gym right now. Now, before we get into the episode, make sure you have gone on over to Cheer Gym Owners on Facebook and you have joined that group. If you are not a gym owner, but you're a cheer coach, head on over to All Star Cheer Coaches and Owners and join that group where we have some great conversations going on. So we've got owners only conversations and then just general business and cheer coaching conversations going on in those groups. A lot of fantastic stuff. It's also where you can learn about some of our sponsors of our conference in Vegas, January 3rd through the 5th. It's going to be a fantastic conference. You can still register, although registration goes up in like just a couple days. So you're going to want to make sure that you get on it. If you're listening to this after the 20th of December, late registration is a little bit more expensive, but we'd still love to see you there. Now, let's get into the episode on why hiring a gym director is likely not going to be the solution to all of your problems. So I have seen a number of people on Facebook posting recently about how to find a gym director, where you find one and what you have one do, and that they need one right now. And I'm going to be diving into all the reasons why maybe you shouldn't be trying to find a gym director right now. And I know that some of you are listening to this and you're going, Dan, you're a hypocrite because you talk all the time about delegation. And you're right. We do talk a lot about delegation. And delegation is a super important thing for any business owner to learn how to do. But it depends on what stage of business you're at. And it might not be the right move to hire a gym director. Might be the right move to delegate some things, but the director position is a little bit different. So let's get into the reasons why I don't know if it's the right direction for you and some considerations you should make. So number one is there is absolutely no stable of amazing and experienced gym directors who are on LinkedIn and are looking for job postings for a cheer gym, looking to hire a gym director, and that director is going to come in and just transform your business into what you need. And oftentimes I feel like that's what people are asking for. They're like, I'm exhausted, I'm stressed, I'm overworked as an owner, I don't know what direction to go, we need to grow, and I need to do this, and I need to do all these things. And you know what will solve that is if I hire a gym director, because I've heard Danielle talk about some of her managers and some of her directors and all the cool things they do in their gym, and I just need that. But what you're not hearing is how much time went into training people like Lexi and Mel and Ashley at 5-star and Carrie at 5-star and all of Rihanna's staff. I don't know all of their names. She's got some amazing ones. And, my tumbling director, Eric, and my parties director, Ahmed, and my stunt director, Jelani, and my front of house manager, Carrie. Like we have all these people, but it took years to get those people in place and create the systems and create the processes. We were not hiring and delegating to those people early on and at certain revenue targets. So there's no stable of people. And all of those people that I just talked about, every single one of them was grown in-house. There weren't people who we just hired out some great director. It's not like you're a mega company putting out a CEO position or a COO position on LinkedIn, and you're getting people with 10, 15, 20 years of experience of doing this at a really high level. That's not what it's going to be. Most people think that hiring a director will instantly increase their output as a company, but the reality is that most directors do not do that because they don't know how. They don't increase output because they don't actually know how. Being a great manager and a great director is very different from being a great coach. There's just no people. And so the question of like, how do I find a great director? Well, you've got to train them. So I might list out some of the qualities that I'm looking for. So if you're looking for a great director, I'm looking for someone who's going to be a great communicator, someone who is organized, someone who is passionate, who has high energy, who understands, maybe a couple elements of what I want them to accomplish. So maybe this person is really good at marketing, or they are really good at understanding tumbling, but they have managerial experience. And you might say, well, what if they don't have managerial experience? Can I make them a director? Yes, you can. But then they're not going to be the solution to all of your problems. And I'm going to get into that in next step, or the next reason why you might not want to hire a director right now. But they are going to be someone who people would want to follow. And oftentimes we promote people because they were the best at their job. So you find someone who is a great tumbling coach. They're really amazing at coaching tumbling. And we go, now you're a tumbling director. And that oftentimes is not the route, because just giving someone the title of director doesn't mean they suddenly understand how to direct people, how to manage people, how to create schedules, how to do all of those other things. So they're limited, and they're limited by their knowledge. And if you've listened to the podcast, I've mentioned before, we oftentimes promote people to their level of incompetence, and then we get frustrated with them and fire them. That is a very frequent thing, because we promote them because they were really good at X thing, and then they get to that position and then they aren't good at it, and then we get frustrated with them and we let them go from that position. In fact, many gym owners, myself included, we do the same thing, but we just self-promoted ourselves. So we buy a business, we start a gym, and we've promoted ourselves to owner, and we really suck at it because we were a really good coach, but we don't know how to run a business. And we then get to a point where we go, okay, well, I'm going to figure it out. Now, we can't really fire ourselves. Although sometimes when people are asking for a director, it is because they're literally trying to fire themselves. Like, I know I'm not good at marketing and doing all these things, so I'm going to bring in a director and they'll be great at it because I'm firing myself from it because I need this person to do it. But oftentimes they're not the right person to do the position because they were just a great tumbling coach. They're another you. You were a great tumbling coach. You started a gym. You're bad at these things. And now you're hiring someone else who was a great tumbling coach to now take over the things that you're bad at, but they don't have any experience to do it. So that would be reason number one, is that there's just no stable of directors and people to pull from. Now, are there good directors out there? Yep. And most of them are not looking to leave their job. They're not looking to move. And you're probably not going to be able to offer them an incentive package to leave one of those programs. Now, maybe you are, which is cool. I'm glad you're at that financial state. But even then, if you're at that financial state, do you really need to hire this director and give up all that money? Maybe you are. Maybe you just want your time back that much. But if you're at that state, train somebody. You can pay them probably less and build them up, and you're going to get exactly what you want. The next thing, and the next reason, is the biggest limiting factor in a director's success is you, the owner. You're the limiting factor. Because as I mentioned, you have to create this person. And even if they come in with experience, you're still going to have to train them on the way things work in your business, how you want things to run. You're a different owner. If Mel or Lexi, who both do, director style positions at Danielle's gym, came over to ODT, there would still be a learning process for them to learn how I like things done here, how Tori likes things done here versus Danielle. So there would still be a growth period. Even though they're incredibly skilled at their jobs, there would still be a lag time. So even if you're hiring some of the best directors, I think, that exist in this industry, there's still going to be a lag time. They're not going to just hit the ground and immediately increase output. And so they're going to be limited by your ability to train them up. And the reality is that they're not going to decrease your workload, especially a brand new director, for at least 3 months. And in fact, it's most likely going to increase your workload. So it's going to have the opposite effect of why most people are looking to hire a director, which is to take things off of your plate and free up your time. It's actually going to take more of your time because you're going to have to spend a bunch of time training this person and teaching them how to do the job. And oftentimes owners don't know actually how to train them. So when I see someone saying, I need to hire a director, give me advice on what you have your directors doing so I can make that person that I hire do those things, I actually think you're doing it incorrectly. That's the wrong progression to do that. So I want to make sure that you're being really strategic and knowing if you are hiring a director that you're going to be taking on a lot of work, that you're going to be dedicating probably 5 to 10 hours a week to training this person, getting them up to where you want them to be, teaching them the ins and outs, helping them understand the systems and how things work in your program. It's going to take a lot of time and energy if you want them to be a great director, which you wouldn't be hiring them if you didn't want them to be a great director. So it's going to take a lot of time and a lot of energy and a lot of effort. And you're going to be the limiting factor, unfortunately. So if you don't think that you have the capability to do it, if you don't think that you're ready and able to clearly define what you want that director to do, then I don't think you're just not at the point where you're ready to hire a director. Now, I'm not saying you will never be, but you're just not yet. And I'm going to give you some strategies on how you get there. But if you're not ready to commit that time, if you don't have those processes in place, then I don't think you should be spending the money to hire a director and creating that headache for yourself, because you're thinking you're solving your problem and you're creating 10 more. And total side note, but that is like the life of a business owner, is we solve a problem, and then solving that problem creates a new problem. And then we solve that problem, and solving that problem creates a new problem. And it is just a circular cycle. You're going to just be creating a problem when you haven't even solved the other one, which the other one is like how to manage your time, how to get more output, how to solve whatever it is you're looking for that director to solve. If you're not in a position where you can train this person up and you have the systems in place for them to be successful, then you're actually just adding another problem and not solving the original one. And I want you to avoid that. So the number 3 is more of a piece of advice, which is you would probably be better served hiring a full-time like coach, or close to full-time coach, than you would hiring a director. Because hiring a full-time close or a full-time coach or close to full-time coach will instantly increase your ability to make revenue, because they're not going to be in a managerial position where oftentimes managerial positions have a smaller impact on revenue because they're managing people. They're not like actually generating revenue by going out and working and coaching a class. But having a full-time coach who's available, who now suddenly goes from being only available in a certain amount of hours, now they're available. Hey, I'm going to start you at 3:00 and you're going to work till 9, and I'm going to work you 5 days a week or 6 days a week. And you're going to do these privately, you're going to do all these things. You can create additional revenue from that full-time coach much quicker than a director is going to immediately increase revenue. So a director position is like a long-term investment in revenue, whereas hiring on someone to be a relatively full-time coach is going to have an immediate impact on your ability to drive revenue and sales, because you can essentially sell their time and their expertise and access to them through the gym. So I would argue that if you've not brought on someone who is really a more full-time coaching position, start there. Take that coach who's a great tumbling coach and just give them more hours. Say, hey, I'm going to bring you on to 35 hours a week. You're going to be coaching all of these things. I'm going to give you this much money. And don't spend that money on a director, and give them the classes and the things that you're doing, because that's going to free up your time to do those things, or at least learn the processes and the systems that eventually a director is going to be doing. And then you can systemize them. So then when a director comes in, you have built that process and they're not having to figure it out. Because the worst thing you can do to a director is be like, you're hired, and say, I want you to do X, Y, and Z. And when they go, how do you want me to do it? Be like, I don't know, whatever you want to do. And then they do it. And you're like, that's not how I wanted it done at all, which is what always freaking happens. We want to make sure that we're setting them up for success by building the systems in place. So my recommendation would be just hire someone full-time. Hire and when I say full-time, I mean 30 plus hours a week. Hire a coach who is working a large amount of hours in the gym, and you can delegate some little tasks to. You can practice the delegation. So maybe some of their tasks are office hours tasks, and you're like, hey, I want you to create this Canva graphic, or I want you to write up 3 curriculums for these classes. And you just start kind of delegating general tasks that are taking up your time, but aren't super productive for you, so you can focus on those owner level skills. But a director's not going to come in and take over the really important tasks that you need to be doing as a founder. So directors and delegation in general is a beautiful thing. It's a absolutely wonderful and very important tactic, but your business might not be at the point where it's ready for that. If you aren't paying yourself a salary, Like if you are not paying yourself a reasonable wage, then you're probably not ready for a director. I'm just going to, that I think is one of the easiest like check boxes. If you can't pay yourself a salary that is at least reasonable to being an owner, it doesn't have to be crazy, but if you're not paying yourself something legit, I'm not talking $200 a month. Okay, I'm talking something legit, like you would pay an employee, then you're probably not at a point where you should be hiring a director because you should be doing those roles. Honest truth, you should be doing those roles until you are able to pay yourself and then some, and you have the actual funds to hire a director. Otherwise, you're just flushing money down the toilet and you're not going to get the result that you want. Now, in very few circumstances, I'm wrong. And in this particular scenario, there will be someone out there who's like, well, I wasn't paying myself and I hired this director and they were the greatest thing in the world. And yep, absolutely. You can get lucky and hire some sort of person for a director position and they just crush it. But I will tell you, from my experience working with hundreds of gyms, that is the exception, not the rule. So do not overextend yourself by hiring a director. Just bring a staff member on to a more full-time position that you can start to delegate menial tasks to, and they can coach more classes, more teams, more things like that, free up more of your time for you to do the owner level tasks, systemize them, and then be at a point where you're ready to hire a director with an actual plan of how to do it. All right, everyone, I hope you enjoyed the episode. It was a pleasure talking to you. I've got some other great ones coming out for you. We are not going to miss episodes over the holiday, so don't think that that's going to happen. I will be recording, and you're not going to want to miss them. I've got some really great episodes planned. With that, we will catch you on the next one.